Hey guys, what's cracking? Godsman here, coming at you with a bit of a impromptu discussion video relating to the new season of Vanguard that just got announced. That's right, we actually know the name of the next season of Vanguard, which is Cardfight Vanguard Divine Z. So this is going to be airing in January 2024. So we're going to be waiting for a couple months as more information is going to be granted to us in December of 2023. So some waiting, but I mean, this is good, right? This is a good start. I'm really hyped, right? So anyway, the discussion here is going to be about the name of the meaning, right? Divine Z. It's a bit of a weird name, and more importantly, what we could see with this new season of Vanguard, because I did get a request from a sub to talk more about some potential new mechanics that might come out, or maybe even just a fundamental change to the gameplay as we know in standard. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before that, let's go ahead and check out a couple of the pictures that came along for this show, right? So you can see right here the logo for Divine Z. You've got a bit of a blue and a red right here, so the dichromatic symbology between that could, it could mean something in of itself, but it might just also be aesthetic. This is our main character, so yeah, this is kind of interesting, right? You look at this guy, and there was a comment, but he kind of looks like Toya, but also kind of looks like Yu. He's a trippy looking character. I'm not sure if he's supposed to look this pale. I'm gonna assume that's more stylized, obviously, because the dude looks like a holographic ghost. But assuming that isn't the case and it's just style, then yeah, he's kind of got a little bit of a trippy thing going along. You can also see with the little hair strip right there, he kind of looks like some past Vanguard protagonist like Chrono. He's a weird mix of everything, and I don't know if I like it per se, but I will say it is definitely kind of, it keeps the stylization that we've come to expect from like modern Vanguard anime. So I'll give it credit where credit is due for that. Moving on, we can just see a little bit of a graphic here, right? So we're going to be expecting the first and second season of the Divine Z, or DZ era, as you were, for 2024, and it'll continue to 2025. So that's going to be what the plan is for the next 4 seasons, which is a really long game plan. But hey, it's fine by us, right? We're going to be able to chill, relax with this for at least 4 seasons. Maybe there's more. You can see over the corner here, there might be more coming afterwards, might be not. It's hard to say, but that's way in the future. They'll probably have to see how the first couple seasons of Divine Z goes before they can really make any determinations on that. But still, it is definitely a start. Now, talking about the naming of the meaning, like, sorry, I'm slurring my words, right? It's really late at night. But the meaning of the name, right? Divine Z. This is a bit interesting. So looking at it, it kind of reminds me of the end of G, right? So for those of you who are more new to the game, there was an era of Vanguard called the G era. It came right after the original era, and it spanned for a few years. And as you're going through G, you had the original G, Gears Crisis, Stride Gate, G Next, and it ended in what was known as the GZ era. So in a similar way, we kind of get Divine Z, or to put it more simply, DZ era. So standard being referred to as D at times, we might be seeing something kind of similar here, where they're trying to present this more grand end to the arc. And in terms of that, we might be seeing something equivalent to some of the bombastic card design that we saw in GZ. So this is where we're going to segue into the mechanical bit. So I had a couple ideas, and there's also a new idea that comes because of the reveal of this name, right? Which is kind of cool. But let's start with the original ideas. So right off the bat, and this is something a lot of people wanted, was defensive mechanics. And I think that we might be able to see something akin to the G zone here, right? Where we can see some sort of out of zone kind of set of cards that can either defend us or help with our offense. Not unlike certain custom cards that we've seen on the channel before, like the armory cards, which is more of a reference to other content. But it just goes to show that we want more cards and more zones and more variety to our playstyle. And in so doing, I think it would help standard a lot, because we're in a very aggressive format. It's not untenable, but it's starting to get close to it. So we need a new defensive mechanic, and also it'd be nice to just get like a nice mechanic overall to spice up the game a bit, because yes, we're getting some cool card design. I mean, something like Sienna, which recently came out, proved that Bushy can, an old dog can still learn new tricks, but it's not something super new. It's just taking what was already pre-existing and pushing it towards a new direction with some defensive type ideas. So it'd be nice to see them just push it to the next level. Something like overdress and cross overdress was a cool idea, and they had a couple of other neat mechanics that felt as though it was starting to push the boundaries a bit. Everything they did with order cards was very nice. I like how product orders work, how they did Gravidia, so on and so forth. So going even beyond that, I mean, heck, it could really, the sky's the limit at that point. But that's what I was thinking as the first idea was some sort of out of zone type of card to either offensively or defensively, most likely both, push your game plan. Now, looking at Divine Z here and thinking about it, we might also see something akin to the Xerath Dragons. Now, of course, probably not actually the Xerath Dragons. I don't think they would go that far with the current Vanguard lore, but we could be seeing a resurrection of some new ultimate powered kind of creatures. So Xerath Dragons were ultimate strides, and they were given to one per nation. Not the nations as we know them per se, but rather the old nations. So that would be the United Sanctuary, Dark Zones, etc., etc. So imagine that they were granted to us in the current nation. So Stoicheia, you would also see one for Lyrical most likely, but even if not, you would at least see one for the 5 main ones. If we saw that, then you might get some really big win condition cards in this set. Sometimes in the season, maybe just right away if they want to throw them all right off the bat, maybe even give them their own structure decks, because we got starter decks for the start of the will dress overdress era, so we could see start decks of one being for each one as the poster child of their respective nation. You could also take it in a different direction and say that we might get some sort of evolution type gimmick. So for the dress mechanic, we had Persona Ride, and there was this idea of placing cards and overlaying the old into the new, which kind of uses a Yu-Gi-Oh reference for all Yu-Gi-Oh fans, but we're going to use it in Vanguard terms, right? You're dressing up the past and the present and improving yourself for the future. That was the symbolism behind it. So what if we have a more of an evolution type thing? So since it's Divine Z, we might not just see God cards, we also see like ascension of pre-existing cards. So I guess to put it into a different perspective, like Digimon digivolving, right? They become more explosive and just powerful versions of themselves. If you were to take it in that direction, we might see like an improvement on Java, an improvement on Youthberg, Greedon, all the different pre-existing Vanguards, as well as the new Vanguards, and have this evolution type thing that goes beyond the Persona Ride. You could also leave Persona Ride to the old guard, and the new guard doesn't even have Persona Ride. Persona Ride is an archaic mechanic by comparison, and they have this evolution type thing instead. That would be an interesting way to go about it, because now we're going away from the need to rewrite a particular card, and instead trying to evolve the card into different forms, and that would be the new sort of game plan for your average deck. If taking it in spades there, right? After all, that would mean that every deck would then in theory have its own evolution, which then complicates deck building. That evolution, if it's in the main deck, it would probably be a burden in deck building. And as some of you guys already know, deck building in standard right now is already a burden, because you have to account for your ride line, your persona targets in most cases, your PGs and your grade 1 slots. There's a lot that you already have to take up your deck space for, and this is even including the regular staples such as the triggers or, you know, the one of Elementaries, things like that. Having to take all that into account, it would be nice if this was an outside of main deck thing. So like I mentioned with the previous defensive offensive mechanic, but now it's also just kind of fundamental to every single game plan, and you would have a specific zone. Let's just call it like the Z zone, right? For brevity's sake. The Z zone over on the side would have a particular set of cards for you. You would have like your Z unit and you would throw it up, and then you had your Z guard, or maybe it's even a little bit more transcendental to that, and it takes Vanguard into the next level in general, and there would be like no rear guards, or there would be extra rear guard zones. Maybe there would be an entirely new zone a la pendulum summoning when the pendulum era came about in the Yu-Gi-Oh. So that's where we're heading, is potentially brand new territory. I don't think they're going to innovate too heavily with this, but if I had to guess, I would think that we might just see just an evolving gimmick. That's my number one idea behind it. Now, how they evolve and what the evolutions are going to be power wise and theme wise, I don't know. I don't got a clue whatsoever. It's also potentially possible that you might have like dual cards, right? Where Vanguards can have like two separate kind of forms or two separate kind of stances or effects. That would be like where the red and blue come into play. It's again a lot like pendulum summoning, right? And I kinda am thinking of the pendulum era, because the pendulum era was a fair bit into the game's history, and it was like the 5th era of the game. And if you're thinking about it, we had the original era, the G era, the V series era, and then the standard era, and now we're kind of going into the second part of standard. So it's like we're heading into its respective pendulum era. So excuse the comparison there, but I can't help but think of that. So that could be the idea. They could also try to take it into a more technological kind of direction with the themes of all these cards, because I mean, just look at this guy. I just can't help but think of like a hologram or something artificial. So the idea might actually be trying to create new Vanguards. And in the spirit of creation, maybe that's the divine symbolism. And so we could literally select different Vanguards from some like Ride Zone EX kind of thing, and that would increase the game variety, right? And if that's the case, I mean, I'm all for it. Being able to like switch out what you can do in a given turn, that was one of the high points of the G era of Vanguard, was because of the strides, you not only had access to a really strong toolbox, but you also had really good varied lines of play for every given clan at the time. We definitely need more lines of play because decks are rather simplistic and one note. I mean, let's look at Youthberg, which is currently topping right now. It's an extremely linear deck. We could use some more variety and strategy in this format of Vanguard. So that's going to more or less sum up my thoughts here. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on this announcement. We're going to get, to reiterate, more news in December, so a couple months from now. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that. I'm probably keeping posted on what it is that we get to learn in 2 months' time. But in the meantime, I'd like to discuss with you guys about what could be the new mechanic, or perhaps even the new fundamental change to the format itself. We might get like something a la Master Rule style kind of change, and if that's the case, maybe it's a welcome addition, maybe it's not. Maybe they could even do other kind of changes, such as rule changes, you know, max, you can increase the amount of cards that you can have in a deck from like 46 main deck cards to 50, just to give us some more space to build. That would be a welcome addition. They could also try to do something to slow the game down fundamentally if they want to take it that way. They have a real potential to do radical changes to Vanguard, because admittedly it's starting to get a bit stale again, and just one note, as it did in times past in V series and at certain points in the previous eras as well. So they can shake it up real easy. It's perfect timing, and I'm really looking forward to see if Bushy would take this opportunity. So let me know what you guys think. And if you did like this video, then go ahead and check out the other discussion videos I have on my channel. I also do tier lists, top 10s, fight nights, the whole shebang. So go ahead and check it out. And if you like what you see, consider leaving a subscribe and turn on the notification bell for the next time I upload a video. And with that, take care. God bless.